All right, Georgetown. Look at there, Patriots. All the way from the fine state of Massachusetts. Woohoo! That's a long trek. That's a long trek. We appreciate them coming down. All right, let's go and take a look at this monster and see what we got. This is a great Georgetown. Thank you. So you got your typical slobber moron, dock core crap. I don't know what it is. But watch this. This is what's protecting your roof. This is the fine product they use. Look how easy this comes right up. Ta-da! That's still slick. So that's why we put new roofs on these things. Somebody's already tried. There's your butyl putty. That's all dried out. That's what that is. That's a useless product. Don't ever use it. It's just a waste of money. Alright, so we got the vents up. I think we're putting in new vents. Skylight was cracked. Look how clean this is. If that putty stuck real well, then you wouldn't have had all that. But somebody has already lined all this, which is cool. So I don't know if the customer did it or not. So this is your typical RV roof, right? I don't like these here, because this, let's see, we'll do it this way. See that big gap? That's how much water's got to build up before it comes off the roof. So it just kind of stays there. Then when it stays there, people don't think it's a big deal. But when you have water just sitting on the roof like that, water will turn into a magnifying glass and it starts deteriorating a lot of stuff. I don't know what we'll find underneath here, but this is an acrylic roof. Some people call it fiberglass, but it's just acrylic. But I gotta say, it doesn't sound too bad. So it's a little puffy like right here, but we'll see when we rip it up. We'll take it up and see what's going on under there. And then, I don't know if you can see that from here or not, but the air conditioner is recessed in the roof just a little bit. That's not a good thing, because that means that water is going to want to roll in there. It's not a heck of a lot. Just, I mean, you can almost see the back is sitting on there. But what will happen is the water will roll right back in there and start rotting out the roof. So hopefully that hasn't happened. I think there were some issues around here actually, now that I think about it, on the inside. I'm trying to remember where it was. I'm tempted to say it was here. We've had it in for a couple of weeks here, but we're going to obviously end up elevating that. Obviously got some tape, and he's going to need new cover. We're going to get rid of this air conditioner. I'll get rid of that antenna. And then the other thing I do not like is over on the other side where that awning is. What they did is the same thing here. They screwed the awning rail down. Instead of being this basically a termination bar, it's an awning rail. So I'll go over there and show you that. But we'll end up pulling the roof right over the shoulder. We'll just pull it right over. We're not going to use this here. We want the water to get off as much as possible. So this is the awning rail. See how they did that? We'll get rid of all this. So all that water now, it's got to build up even more than that one over there, than this one over there. It's got to build up before it'll drain off. So, and it starts getting into all of here. So, you can see all this is all broken up, putty and everything, it all cracked. So this is like a butyl. It's a butyl product, and it's designed to fail like this on purpose. So I don't know about y'all. If you can find it, you all can send it to me. But I tried to find a warranty on Dicor. I went to their site, could not find anything on there. If you find it, email it to me. I'd love to read it. But I found nothing. And then when I tried to contact them and fill out their contact form that they have online, a pop-up came up, and I had to agree to some sort of terms and conditions about sending them a note. So basically what the terms and conditions, when I read it, said that they can go through and collect all the data and everything out of my phone, basically everything. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I don't know why you need all that when I'm just trying to ask you a question. But if y'all find something, let me know. Get a little rip in this little fabric here. But we're going to get rid of all this, and what we're going to do is elevate this up so the water can get out, so we can get down to this gutter. And I'm going to get rid of this as well, and we'll mount it a little differently. But I want to make sure it's all going to just go down into that gutter. So That's your Georgetown right now. Like I said, even right here, it doesn't sound too bad. I don't know if you can really see what I'm looking at, but it does. It's dipping in there a little bit. So, you know, and that's the issue that I have. So somebody may come up and go, hey, this ain't so bad. We'll spray over it for you. And I just say this, if you want to spray it or roll it, if somebody's thinking about that, and, you know, that's an idea. Sure. Well, this is a failed gasket. So if you read the warranties don't cover failed gaskets. And the reason why the gaskets fail is because they're sitting clear onto the roof. You get all that dirt, all the debris, all the pollen, and it dries the gaskets out. It needs to be elevated up off the roof line. That's how a commercial roof functions. So it gives the water another way to go around. That's the whole purpose of a curb. But these spray and roll-on companies, really, they're just out to sell product. So they put that clause in there. So I don't know what we're going to find, but I have done a few others where we take them up and there's, you know, some significant rot under there. And if that fails on a spray or roll-on roof, you're going to have to tear up their product. You're going to have to make all those repairs, which, you know, could run you a couple of grand. And then you have to go back to them to have them spray what you tore up. Then you can put your air conditioner back down with a gasket on the roof and wait for it to fail again. And it's not going to be something you're going to see like immediately, like, whoa, I got some water coming here, like a tree going through your roof. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be chronic. So generally when these fail, like I said, we're going to see how bad this one is, because I can see that it does have a depression. But anyhow, the roof deck generally soaks up some of that stuff. So then this is a foam roof, so it'll go into the foam, and it'll soak all the way down, about 4 inches of foam. It'll get down into the ceiling panel. And you know, there's a whole bunch of Georgetowns on our channel. You can see what I'm talking about after you get done with this, if you really want to see them. But you really need them up on a curb. So that's what I'm saying. You're not going to be able to recognize a failed gasket right away. The only way you're going to know is, like right now, is you're just going to have to unbolt the air conditioner, pull it out and check it and try to put it back down. So from what I understand, from what these techs tell me, the air conditioner gaskets should be replaced every couple of years. That's what they say. I'm not an air conditioner tech, but you know, I've seen some failed ones. I've seen ones that last a little bit. Then there's different designs of gaskets as well. So you can get some gaskets and it's 4 pieces all glued together. I really shy away from those ones. Spend a little bit more money and get one that's a complete self-stamped one in one piece, if you have to do them. But we'll see what we come up with here. But that's what I say. I mean, some of these places are going to want to, you know, hey, I think I'm going to spray it. Well, so now you spray over it, roll over it, whichever product you want to use, and now you got to replace a vent. You got a tree that clipped it or whatever, the lid breaks, I don't know, something breaks on it, you got to fix it. Well, same thing. Tear out all their product, then you're going to have to get that vent back in there and then go back to them for the repairs. The way we do our roofs, and a lot of people have asked, how can somebody follow behind us? They're up on curbs. So actually, here's one here. I haven't even finished a video on it, but you can see the curb, see? So what you can do is just take that vent off, put a new one down, easy. Same thing with the air conditioner. You just go inside, loosen the air conditioner up. This one is a roof mount, but either way, you would pull it off, either fix it, put it back down. But all the water, when it comes across, is going to hit right here, and it's going to get diverted around. That's what's going to happen. There's a counter flash on there too, which is going to prevent it from jumping up over, and it minimizes an erosion effect. Same with the skylight. Skylight's built the same way. So just giving you an idea, that thing you see beside the skylight, that's an exhaust fan. I'm going to be putting one in here as well. And the reason I do that is on those lenses, when the frost is on the top, well, you know, especially in the cooler times of the year, then it's also on the inside of it. It's on the inside of there. So now the sun comes up, evaporates what's on the top, but what's on the inside doesn't get evaporated. What happens is it gets diffused down into condensation, and that's what's known as dry rot. It'll get down, it could rot out a curb, it could, you know, a lot of times it'll rot out a roof deck. So the purpose of that solar fan is when the sun comes up to evaporate this off, that solar fan kicks on. Right beside it is an intake, and it pulls air up. There's an interior lens, pulls it up through the interior lens and keeps that cycle going, and it keeps it dry. It'd probably even keep it cooler, I'm guessing. But that's the whole purpose of it. But that's why you would want a curb. You can see this one over here, right? Sitting up on a curb. So you're not going to have these issues with, you know, gaskets sitting on the ground. And then on the front there, you can see right there on the front, I put another piece there. It's up underneath the lid, and it goes below our counter flash that's on the curbs. And the counter flash is just a flange that I built and designed in there, but it goes below that, so now it hits the roof and rolls out, so it's not, that gasket's all protected. So, you know, that's what we're going to do here as well. So we'll end up, like I said, we'll end up putting a vent over here on this one, like we did over here, that solar vent. I'll put that on there, and you know, we'll get this thing going. So, but this is your typical Georgetown roof. So let us start tearing this stuff apart. We show you some more. All right, so we've got the roofing. This is just an acrylic. That's all it is. It's real thin, like paper thin. I don't know. It's probably about a millimeter. But we got that. So the air conditioner section, even though it still looks a little down a little bit, it was dry. So that's awesome. That part is. This section over here was a vent. You can see some of the staining right here and over here, a little bit even right here. That we're gonna make sure that it's if it's just water stained, that's one thing, but we got to double check and make sure it's bonded to the foam. This is a ply foam roof. So what ply foam is, you probably could see some foam right in there, but I'll show it to you over here. This is foam. So it's like a foam sandwich. So you got your ceiling, your roof right here, foam, and then the ceiling. That's how it's comprised. So that's it's a good system as long as it doesn't get wet. But like I said, it's got a little bit of D-lam right in here, looks like. You can see that. So this is the stuff we just want to look over. We're going to clad over it with another piece, but it doesn't look like any serious damage there. Actually, you can still see some of the foam right there. Some of that was stuck to the back of the roofing there and the plywood. You know, sometimes you try to pull it up, you get some pieces that stick like that. But like I said, we're going to clad over it anyways, but we just got to get all the loose stuff off. You know, you can't glue to this, so we got to get rid of all of that. Then once we're satisfied with all that, it's pretty well where we can clad over it, then obviously that's what we're going to start to do. But I do want to address some of these issues here that are not secured to the foam, because it doesn't make sense to try to glue what we have on top of something that isn't glued to where it should be. So that's how we're moving up out. All right. Also, if you the commercials or the commercials that come on here, you can skip them. We don't do the monetizing thing. That's a YouTube thing. So you know, we post these up here so the customers can see all the work we do. Everybody's got questions, and that's how it started. But I don't consider myself a YouTube content maker and all that stuff. We don't do all this fancy jazzy editing. If you've seen some of my other videos, you're probably nodding your head because I just try to give the meat and potatoes. So all right, so that's us, and we're gonna get to work and clean the rest of this up. So this was for the awning. It had a bracket that came up here. They bolted it down, and then they slobbered it with that self-leveling stuff. But you can see that's already kind of rotted out there. You can see the rot in those holes. So the other one that I noticed too, let's see which one it was. So, right here. You can clearly see those screws didn't seal well. And all those. So those are a couple right there. You know, this here, I gotta say, this isn't as rotted as I thought. At least not all the way down here. I don't know what the top layer is it's missing, but I'll say it was all right. I'm not a fan of that stuff for sure. All right, there's a couple things I want to show you. Once we get all the sheathing off there that was all delaminated, we made the repairs, and you can see that we're putting down the new decking. You can see all the glue on here. So we'll obviously shave that down, clean it up, but everything else has been repaired. And then, like I said, we just remove all the loose stuff. We'll get all that too. There's some over there. So as they're working along, that's what we're doing, but most of it's already been done and dealt with. So there may be a few that they overlooked. Like I said, we'll get all that. And that's what we're doing now. So we're just securing and gluing down the new roof deck. Once it's done, we can start moving forward. So everything else seemed fine. Didn't come across anything major that would, you know, on some of the Georgetowns that we've done. This is probably the easiest one we've ever done on a, like you said, a Georgetown. All right, well, let us get going to work. All right, it's hot in here, so I got to talk over this fan. We've already got the driver's side already rolled out. You can see the sheen on here. That's the glue we put on, but it's also on the membrane as well. That's a contact cement. A lot of the times, you know, when you see these roofs puffing up on these campers, the RV industry only does one side. You have to do both. It's a contact cement, but they just want to get them done, get them out, get them sold. Anyhow, we're going to roll this over. We got all our strips on here, got the shoulders back, got our protective strips all over there. And after we did all the patching and everything else, so once we bring this over, we should be able to rock and roll and get the vents and AC cut out and skylight and so forth and get going. Well, here's our skylight. All right, so when they do the lenses for these things, they're always way too big anyway. So I build the curb out. Then when I build the curb, I got to set in here and kind of balance it out. So it's a little wider here, maybe there. It's not me. It's I got to make it to fit the lens. So this is the way manufacturers do it, and then they just throw whatever on there. So this is a solar fan, and over here is an intake. There's a vent hole right there. There's a vent hole right here. So the whole purpose of this, when you have the inner lens and the outer lens, especially in the cooler times of the year, you're going to have condensation that'll get on top of here. You'll get some frost, you'll get whatever, some dew, and the sun will come up and it'll evaporate this up. But what's actually up underneath here, it doesn't get evaporated off. It gets diffused down to its, you know, condensation, and it'll just drool and trickle down the inside of the lens, and it can rot out around the decking. That's known as dry rot. So we don't want to have that happen. And generally when it happens, a lot of people complain about skylight leaks. I got a leak in the skylight. They keep going up there with that self-leveling and keep putting more on, keep slobbering it around. And the problem is that now that the decking is all rotted, the screws aren't holding, and the caulking isn't an adhesive caulk at all, so it's not bonding. It's just basically a dog chasing its tail. So you'll have to keep doing it. So the other issue is this builds up heat. And there's a lot of people who put some things up inside here, like some insulation or pillows or whatever, to keep the heat out because it gets hot. So that isn't necessarily good for the inside as well. So the whole idea to this is when we have this on here, put the lens on, and then you got your inner lens, so you got that cavity in there. So when the sun comes up to evaporate off of the top of the lens, like I said, when it turns into, you know, the underside, when it diffuses down into condensation, this fan's going to kick on at the same time. And when it kicks on, then it's going to keep a constant cycle of air going in between that cavity. It'll probably keep this thing cooler anyways. So that's the whole principle of it. Now what we did is we cladded everything, as you can see in this black aluminum. We cladded the whole thing. And mainly we did that because, you know, this was charcoal. We just wanted to look clean for one, but also the other point is that these lenses don't last forever. I can't guarantee a lens. I can't guarantee the vent either. But we'll say when this does crack, eventually it will. But when it does, if I don't put all this in here, then what's going to happen is that water is going to get in either into my curb or it'll get into the structure of the coach here, maybe into the attic area. It could get up into the trusses. I don't want to have any of that happen. So we cladded it all out, and then these pieces go down and they return back into the ceiling. So you're going to have an inner lens right here that's going to come up. So any water that does happen to come in is going to trickle down here and it's going to drip right down into the shower pan. So if the customer sees some water and then they go, hey, we've got an issue with the skylight, you know, it's that simple. So it's not going to ruin anything is my point. This is basically a fail-safe. I don't want to have any damage because the lens cracked. So I know other places don't really care, and they just put it all together and go, hey, there you go. That's the way the manufacturer did it. You know, we like to think outside the box here and do things so you don't have to do them again and worry about these issues. But I see this constantly. So again, that's why, you know, we did it. Now, I'll say years ago when I started doing them, I didn't have this setup here. And I have had customers complain they've had some water, you know, condensation coming in. That's clearly what it was. So I wanted to remedy that, and that's how I designed this system here to make sure, you know, that it'll get some good circulation in there, and it works pretty well for sure. So like I said, we're just going to put this on here, and then everything's all solved. And if there's ever an issue or a leak, a crack in the lens, it's going to go down into the shower pan. It's going to drip in there. It's not going to get anywhere else in the coach. So it takes us a few minutes to do it, but it also looks cleaner as well. So all right, so that's where we are so far. We got most of the roof all together, but I'll go over that in a little bit. We're still all of this is all heat welded together. It's all heat welded, you know. That's how it works. So just give you an idea. If you're curious on heat welding, this is heat welding. There's a little bit more to it. He's just doing the edge. He's just doing the edge of it, but the whole thing gets all welded. The whole thing does. So then what we do, not everybody does it. I do what's called set the bead. That's how I weld. That's how I teach my guys how to weld. And basically, when this gets welded down here, you still have this little edge right here. That's how most commercial people just weld it like that. I don't like it. So what I do is I set it down. And that's why he's got that tool. That tool will kind of curve it over and make it nice and flat like this. And the other reason I like to do it is because it won't hold dirt. So if you just have it flat and you don't set it, then, you know, sometimes you get dirt collected up in there. And I want to look clean. Anyhow, that's me. I got some OCD stuff going on. All right, well, let's get it finished up, and then I'll give you a rundown on the rest.
Well, we're all done
with our Georgetown. Ready to go. So we got our little stamp on here. Hopefully it'll show up. June 25. We put that on there so when it comes back for inspections, we have an idea of how old the roof is. The other reason is if the customer decides to sell the coach, we can say, hey, this roof was just put on. It's still under warranty. So we've got everything all done. Step over here and give you an idea of what we did. So we've got these boots right here. A lot of times you get on these ladders, you see, and they do move a lot. Everybody knows that. But what'll happen is those little plates, all they do is slather it with self-leveling, and eventually they just breach over, and then you end up getting a rod up underneath there. So these boots, that's why I made all these boots. I made everything on here, in fact. But this is filled with a special sealer, so this stays like a rubber eraser all the time. We've got 2 stripes of caulking all the way down on each side, on everything. There's 2 stripes of caulking. And then all of this is all heat welded in here, so there is no need for any self-leveling on this roof at all. No need for it. There's no place to put it anyways. So, like I said, it's all welded together. This is a TPO. TPO is a thermoplastic. So we use this very expensive and very hot air gun that what it literally does is fuses the 2 pieces together. It's much like welding in the sense where if you were to weld with like a stick, or if you were to weld with like a MIG, you're heating up the metal, but you're also introducing a medium, and it could be a wire or a rod. But in this case, the medium is built into the material, so it just fuses together. Let's say you had a pair of sunglasses and the little arm broke off. You can kind of heat it up with a lighter and stick it back together. Similar principle to that. Okay, so it's all heat welded. If anybody needs to change a vent out, if anybody needs to change a skylight out or an AC, they can do it. The way that I designed this roof is that anybody can follow behind us. If you've got enough smarts to know how things go together, you shouldn't have an issue. The vent is put down the same exact way as if there was no curb there, so that's easy enough. And the same thing with this skylight. So we loaded the skylight here. We don't put screws in it. This is a special adhesive caulk that we use because these skylights, you put screws in here, they expand and contract a lot. So when they do expand and contract, what happens is it's either pushing or pulling on a screw. So that's how you'll get these tiny little hair fractures in there. So we don't do that. We just put it down, and will it crack? Probably. Nothing lasts forever. But and also when they do these molds, I'm sure there's some air in there. So, but they do expand and contract a lot. Where in the summertime it'll really when it get hot like it is now. It'll get hot and expand, and then you get a thunder shower and it wants to contract real quick, and that's what'll probably start causing these little hair fractures. So this is a solar fan, and there's a little ductwork that goes in there. I think I already showed all that, and that's the intake. So now in the winter time you have a lot of dew and moisture sitting up on top here, but not only is it on top of here, it's up on the inside of this lens. So the sun will come up and evaporate that off. When it evaporates it off, what's up underneath there will drool down on the inside of the lens, and it can get around and rot out the roof jack. That's known as dry rot. So once the sun comes up and evaporates that off, this solar fan kicks on and it's pulling the moisture. So even if it's not cold out, it's still going to pull some air through there and hopefully keep it cooler. You know, a lot of people, they put maybe pillows or things up inside there to keep the heat out, but now you're actually creating an oven, and which is, you know, from the inner lens to this outer lens, you know, you'll have an oven effect, and that will dry out and start some dry rot as well, especially combined with that moisture. You know, if we didn't have this solar fan, they really should be putting them in, but the RV industry doesn't care. I mean, obviously their goal is to get it built, get it out, get it sold. So every one of these curbs that I designed, they all have what's called a counter flash. This is a counter flash right here. They all have it, and the purpose of that is when you get water that's coming across the roof and it hits this curb, the idea of a curb is to minimize erosion effect and also redirect water away from the penetration. So this penetration, that penetration, 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 right? So it'll redirect it away, but also this counter flash prevents it from jumping. So that's what we're trying to do. So they all have it. That's the way you do it on a commercial roof. Same exact installation as a commercial roof. The only difference between this and an actual commercial roof is the size of the curbs. Otherwise, it's the same exact installation. If you were to step on, or even go do a search online, and you search for flat roof images, you would see the vents, air conditioners, you'd see even skylight lenses that are back there. You'd see all that elevated up off the roof line, sitting on a curb. But those curbs are really big, and they order those curbs. So you can't do that on here for an RV, so I custom make every single one of them. I even made this other one here for the antenna right there. I made that one. So then on the air conditioner, and again, all of this, if somebody needed to, they can easily replace this air conditioner. But I just put a couple of feet in the back to give it some balance. And then, but inside there, it mounts the same exact way as if there was no curb there. So this is what I say, if somebody has the skills and knows what they're doing, well, they should be able to replace, like you said, the vent, the air conditioner, the antenna, and so forth. So on the front of the AC, I have this other counter flash. Okay, and you can see some water there because we had the air conditioner running. But this counter flash goes below the counter flash on the curb. So now when the water comes down this way, it'll go down below that. And what I'm trying to do is protect that foam gasket up inside there. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's the purpose of this front one. So everything is kind of thought out pretty well here, so we don't have those issues. On the caulking right here, there's 2 strikes on there. We do 2 strikes because if you've ever operated a caulking gun, you will hear it pop or crackle. And when you hear it pop and crackle, you just injected an air bubble. So what are the, you know, and these things do move a little bit, and if they do, you potentially have breached, and it could possibly cause a leak. So my thought is, what are the chances of having one air bubble laying on top of another one, you know? So I want to make sure that we don't have those issues. That's why I do 2 strikes on it. One of the things I really hate about Georgetowns and even Fleetwoods is the way they do these awnings. So what they do is they put those awnings right there. That awning rail was right on the roof. So the problem with that is now the water's got to build up before it can get up over the awning, and it'll just roll over, it won't go into the gutter. So we made all these little standoffs right here, as you can see, so now the water can get off the roof and into the gutter. And then we just put these little caps on the top there. I just thought they just looked better. Little crown caps instead of just seeing the threaded rod on there, but it just looks cleaner. So other than that, we're done. It's ready to go. The warranty on this roof is, according to the manufacturer, is a 20-year, a 20-year membrane warranty. And the way they do all that warranty is, sitting on a commercial building, you will get 20 years of life out of this roof. That's how they do it, right? But an RV isn't going to see that kind of elements all the time. Generally, they're tucked away under a tree, you know, in some shade and so forth. So, you know, I'm going to reach out and say you're probably going to get about 25 years out of this roof anyways. So, and that's actually pretty good. Some of these coatings that you see in these spray-on roofs and roll-on roofs, they were actually designed for commercial roofs like this. They weren't designed for RV roofs. But a lot of these people jump on the bandwagon just to sell it. and they want to sell product, so that's what they do. But all that said, they do make a recovery system. In 25, 30 years, you say, hey, this needs you know, some help, or you want to stave it off. All you have to do is apply that coating on there, and you've got the curves and everything else, so you won't go around all your vents and everything with that product. You would just go around like the curves and so forth. That's the design, the idea of it. So on these spray and roll-ons, what they do is they go over all of this. They go over all of this with the product. They go over the flange. They go over the flange of that. And then if you needed to have one of these replaced, you have to dig all their product out, make the replacement. Then you have to go back to them because they want to keep a proprietary deal on it, and they're not going to send you any product. So the same thing with the air conditioner. They just, you know, spray the roof down, but, you know, if you have issues with that gasket failing, well, then you're going to have to make the repairs. The gasket will fail. You're going to have to make the repairs. And the reason why the gasket's going to fail is because it's sitting on the roof. You get all the elements of the dust and pollen and debris that get in there and dry out that gasket. So by us elevating it and keeping it protected like we do, you don't have that issue. We eliminate that problem as well. So you're going to get many years of life out of it. Will it last forever? No, but it's obviously smart to check it, you know. I don't believe in never checking anything. Don't assume anything is just never needs any inspection or maintenance. That would just be plain out foolish, I think. So getting back to the warranty, it's real simple. The warranty on this is 20 years. We just ask folks to come in here once a year and we inspect it for them. And I want to see if there's anything going on, if it's something that we missed. I want to catch it before it becomes a hot mess, and we'll take care of it. You know, I don't want it to be, you know, several years down the road and someone say, hey, Joe, you know, I got this big problem. Now everything's all a hot mess. And be like, yeah, but all we had to do was, you know, maybe the prep on the caulking wasn't right or something. It was real simple that we could have fixed years ago, and now, you know, they want me to rebuild the whole entire roof system. You know, that's not really fair to me. So I'm willing to stand behind it. I just want to see it. And it's smart to get them inspected anyways. Doesn't have to be a year. I know some people, they have plans and they may go, you know, make them, and they say, well, you know, I can't make it because I got to do my inspection. Well, just call us and say, hey, I want to come in early. Or can I come in right after when I come back or something? I don't care. I just like to see it. I don't want anybody to ever think we did the job for them, took their money, and we only want to see them come back when they need to spend some money. That's not the way my shop operates. So the actual membrane in itself is right here. And this, like I said, it's a 60 mil. And it comes in 3 different colors. So you can obviously see the white, the gray, and the tan. And then there's all our information right there. But also this is, I'm going to see if the light will pick it up. It will on this one, I think, but you can see some little squares in here, and that's a reinforced membrane. What it is, there's a weave inside here, and that helps resist against hail and tree branches. That's what that is. So it's a really thick membrane. You're not just going to rip this. There is a video on the channel. It's called One Badass Roof or something on that lines. It was a big fifth wheeler that this guy had, and he used to take it through these trails for doing, and it was a toy hauler, and he would take them through these trails. What you probably shouldn't be bringing a big camper like that through there, but he would, and the trees would just, man, they dragged all the way down the side, and you'd swear it was going to rip it apart, and it never did. So I posted that on there. This is the actual insert trim that we use. So, and the difference, the other insert trim just sits inside there, and you can see that track, and water will get in there. I don't want any water in there, so this has a groove in it that sits inside and outside of this track. So, and it also works on a water adhesion principle, where it comes down, it'll roll into the gutter. So there's 2 colors there. We don't sell anything here. So like some folks, you know, they say, hey, can I buy this? Can I buy that? We don't sell a thing. All we are is a service center, and that's you know, this here, I have to buy it literally 2 miles at a time, you know, virtually 2 miles at a time. I got to get 10,000 linear feet at a time to get them. So anyhow, let's see, what else did I miss? Anything? I just wanted to thank the customer for coming all the way down. He came down from Massachusetts, and we really appreciate it. We came all the way down here. That's a long trek. You imagine how many RV centers he passed up to come to us, and you know, I'm honored that he did. And that's why we do the work we do in the manner we do, because people come a long way. That is a long trek to come down here, probably 1,100 miles to come on down here. But we have folks come from Canada, Florida, they come out from California, they come everywhere, Wisconsin, you know, up north. Anyhow, I would feel real bad if I slapped this roof on and it wasn't right. Because, you know, if they want to get crappy work, they can get that locally. And that's why they come here. And that's why we do the job we do. So we're not into running these out. Let's get another one in. Let's get another one in. We're not like that. These go out when they're ready to go out. So, well, we appreciate you watching. And we'll see you on the next one. So in our care package, we have caulking. We got primer. We have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch, peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool, we've got a magnet, and the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. You shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. What you gonna talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. We're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers, fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably use some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up like this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, and you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of, there's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here, this part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this, because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.